The land of India and the land where Hinduism reigns here, they have never gone to another country, invaded it and asked them to convert. All the other religions in the world have caused a lot of deaths and wars.
Right. Reason is because of the conversion. You just said it. In other religions, there's an award for converting somebody into their religion.
Right.
All these rewards, so you're actually incentivized to go and convert people.
Right.
Where Hinduism, you cannot actually convert into it.
Right.
You can practice it,
Right.
but you cannot convert
Right.
into it.
Right.
We're actually born into it, or you can practice it.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. Not a religion, it's a philosophy.
Right. Yeah.
It is a way of being, it's a way of living, it's a way of loving, it's a way of everything.
Kazakhstan's Nowruz, a festive springtime tradition. Hey, little adventurers! Get ready to discover the amazing world of Nowruz, a super cool celebration all about spring and new beginnings. I'm your guide, Sky, and together we're gonna have a blast learning about this awesome holiday celebrated around the world. Now, did you know that people from different countries celebrate Nowruz in their own unique ways? Yup! But here's the cool part. They all share similar traditions that bring families and communities together. Today, we're going to dive into the wonderful traditions of Kazakhstan, a country in Central Asia, and learn how they celebrate the Nowruz holiday. In Kazakhstan, Nowruz is a time of joy and excitement. Streets are adorned with colorful decorations, and families come together to celebrate with delicious food, lively music, and traditional dances. One of the most special traditions of Nowruz in Kazakhstan is the setting up of traditional yurts, where families gather to share meals and exchange gifts. It's a time for unity, laughter, and strengthening bonds with loved ones. And let's not forget about the mouth-watering dishes. Nowruz Koji, a traditional soup made with 7 ingredients, is enjoyed by all, symbolizing prosperity and good fortune for the coming year. During Nowruz, people also participate in various cultural activities and games, such as traditional dances, horseback riding, and folk performances. It's a time to celebrate the rich heritage and customs of Kazakhstan. But beyond the festivities, Nowruz is also a time for reflection and renewal. It's a time to forgive past grievances, embrace positivity, and welcome the new year with open arms. So, whether it's enjoying delicious food, dancing to lively music, or spending time with loved ones, Nowruz in Kazakhstan is a time of happiness, unity, and new beginnings. Thanks for joining me on this awesome journey to discover how Kazakhstan celebrates Nowruz. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Happy Nowruz, everyone!
Tengrism religion was original religion of the Turks and Mongolians. Tengrism is one of the oldest religions in the world. Tengrism dates back to the Bronze Age, between 3,600 to 1,200 years before century. This religion was developed by the people of the Altai Mountains in Central Asia. Tengrism is a monotheistic religion with elements based on ancestor worship. It is believed that the Huns from the northern Caucasus probably worshipped a god named Anchovies. This religion is said to make sacrifices using horse animals. Their most important day is known as Tengrian Enlightenment Day, which falls on December 23rd.
Которые көзге көрінбейді, глазам не видно. Но это ритуальные. Вот. Как Господь Аллах дал черной магии 1000 вариантов делать ритуальные порчи, так и нам дал он белым. А обратно, аудару, казахи говорят, аудару, переводить молитвами на то, что покажут они, аудару жвирюги. И в один прекрасный день, я помню до сих пор, в обед я лежал на диване и слышу голос: «Не жатырсың, тур! Что ты лежишь? Вставай!» Я испугался вообще, знаешь, отырдым на диване, он говорит: «Жерге отыр, ложись, садись на пол. Қолыңды көтер, говорит, руки поднимай». Я поднял руки, и он мне говорит, голос: «Проси прощения у Господа, у Аллаха проси прощения, что ты...» Вот, ну не стал принимать хасид. И я начал вспоминать мамины рассказы, что один дедушка там костоправом был, другой мечеть держал, имамом был, другой был бахсы, помогал людям, очищал. И я это вспомнил. Господь сказал: «И создал я вас разных по цвету кожи, национальности и вероисповеданию. Но от меня у вас у каждого душа. Поэтому человек должен быть добрый. Чаще всего проблема это здоровье, закрыты дороги, не могут выйти замуж, жениться, родить детей. Мои ангелы, да, они мне ложат информационно. Показывает, бывает, на мне показывает. Диагностика идет на мне. Человека желудок болит, мне желудок поддавливает. Человек печень болит, печень колет, поддавливает. Вот. Диагностика через меня идет, бывает так. Бывает просто информацию кладут. Человек пришел, говорит, вот так, очищение. Вот. Единственное, что хочу пожелать всем людям, чтобы все мы давали установку на позитив. Аллах.
Hello everyone and welcome to Mr. This is Asia, and here's Kazakhstan. Now let's have a look, shall we? Kazakhstan is the 9th largest nation in the world, and when exactly the first human beings set foot in its vast, seemingly boundless steppes can't be known exactly, but they were hunters tracking their prey in the languid retreat of the Ice Age, and life was rough and cold and hard. During the era of the Botai culture, the ancients of the region became the first people to domesticate the horse. Over the centuries, numerous tribes inhabited the area, nomadic pastoralists and bronze workers. The region also saw the rise of prominent Iranian civilizations, such as the Saka and more famously, the Scythians, feared, fearsome fighters, proficient horseback archers, and masters of the broad plains. What's pleasantly surprising about the Scythians is their astonishing skills in metalwork. They crafted items of such intricate delicacy as to shut the mouths of those who dismissed them as mere uncouth barbarians. More centuries slipped by to the sound of the wind and hooves in the fields, and one day the breezes brought the music of a Turkic tongue as the Göktuks migrated into the land from the east, bringing with them the worship of the sky god Tengri. And you didn't want to make Tengri angry. These ancient Turks by the 570s ruled an enormous slab of the continent before quarrels and wars saw them splitting into two halves in 603, both of which would end up conquered by Tang dynasty China. The 8th century saw contact with Arab Muslims who introduced Islam to Central Asia, which today remains the majority religion of the region. The 1200s saw the land completely conquered by the Mongols under Genghis Khan and absorbed into his sprawling empire. Such an elephantine expanse of earth inevitably ended up divided. The land we're concerned with fell to the western Mongol domain, called the Golden Horde. Over time, the horde became less Mongol and more Turkic, and in the 1300s, the leader accepted Islam. The latter 14th century saw the Golden Horde devastated by the armies of the Turco-Mongol conqueror Timur, and the state fractured into smaller pieces. One of these pieces was called the Uzbek Khanate. Khan, of course, is a word for ruler. Many did not like the Uzbek way of doing things, however, and in about 1465, under the leadership of two brothers, some 200,000 people broke away from them and migrated here, where they became known as Kazakhs, a name possibly deriving from the Turkic word for wanderer, free and independent. The Uzbeks were not happy, and what do you suppose happened? That's right, a dance competition. No, of course not. War. It's always war. And the Kazakhs won and remained free and independent. The following years saw more wars with the Uzbeks, in which the Kazakhs gained more land for their own nation, the Kazakh Khanate, which reached its greatest extent in the 1500s under Qasim Khan, when the Kazakhs were lords of the steppes, just like the Scythians had been so many centuries earlier. From the 1600s onward, the Kazakh state trickled into tripart tribal division. This naturally weakened the state as a whole, and it suffered attacks from various neighbors, including a western Mongol people called the Zhungar. The Kazakhs achieved victories over the invaders under Abulkhair Khan, and the Zhungar were eventually decisively defeated by the Chinese, who ordered their genocide in the 1750s. The Kazakhs still faced incursions from surrounding nations, and themselves raided other nations for slaves, but they eventually succumbed to the might of the Russian Empire, who took control of Kazakhstan in the 1800s. Russian settlers started moving in, and big changes started occurring in the country, to the resentment of many Kazakhs, who saw their traditional mode of life threatened by the steady introduction of modernization. The Kazakhs instigated a number of uprisings, which were quashed. So Russian rule continued, and 1916 saw another large rebellion flare up, in which Russian settlers were slaughtered, prompting the Tsar's troops to storm in and machine gun the insurgents without mercy, killing well over 100,000 Kazakhs. When the Russian Empire fell to the communists after the 1917 revolution, the Kazakhs jumped at the opportunity at establishing an independent state, but it only lasted till 1920, when the Russians returned, this time with red stars on their caps, and Kazakhstan became part of the Soviet Union. Unhappy years followed as Kazakhstan was not spared from the disastrous Soviet economic policies that plagued its populace in the 1920s and 30s, and some 1.5 million Kazakhs, perhaps more than 2 million, died from a devastating famine that some scholars label genocide. The Soviet authorities pushed for further agricultural development in Kazakhstan, a campaign supported by Dinmukamit Konaev, who dominated Kazakh politics for over 20 years in the Soviet era, a man of wisdom and remarkable administrative ability. He steered Kazakhstan into better times, overseeing the nation's entrance into increased wealth and improved standards of living. As the Soviet Union fell apart, Kazakhstan was the last Soviet republic to declare independence, which it did in December 1991. Nursultan Nazarbayev was elected first president and led the nation as a dictator until 2019, in which time Kazakhstan's economy boomed due to the nation's lucrative oil and energy sectors. While issues such as the country's human rights record are not viewed favorably by various organizations, Kazakhstan is improving and has seen many advancements and attained a very high level of human development and is the wealthiest nation in Central Asia. But what sits ahead for Kazakhstan? Comment below, but for now, bye-bye!
با کلمه کردی وانینه 1926 ساله سرهلدان شیخ سعید تو با من تکنه حبسی چا کرده که آیان کرده که شورشان تکنه حبسای بازار ازمیری مالبات ویا زار ویا گل قوم جورا درون چمی عرض دربازدون دربای سویت دون دورا چمی عرض خورا گنده چید کرد 1929 ساله با هم حبسه درد که تی ویدری سویت مالبات خودوینه قوات خودوینه هم دجین
او بدورة دیگه جوان
هم دجین با هم 36 ساله چرام خودی 37 ساله تی بیرام از 5 سالی بون روی که هاتم گو هم 24 ساعت وقت نوه کار بکن چه فرض برافدن همه و بنجی که دو
او سرگنی و حادث پیدا کرد
آره کدا بون کس نزانه 24 سال شنده هاتم کرنه او ماشین عربا و این بر دست ری حسنی ترنته تخنیده یک کیان گودینه کس نانره هی ترند چه
سبب چه بو ماموسته؟
من نزام سبب چه هم دو ماه ترینی وانین هناك برنا برا آلماطي هموين ترازي جامبولسك اوبلس هموين تريني وديس عربي اكو وين دركي سربرفي ولاكن قولي برا بجي بو بوهار
خاني دابون و
وين تنت شول
وشلكم بكن يعني
برا بجي لما خرج كونوني بون نكون فاقرتن برد نقش برفة جين حتى بوهاري بري ما مرة خاني تشكرن قندك تشكرن لقوا حقواه في قندي هارنا ويقين تنن
يعني حبسك مزن زندانك مزن
زندانك مزن.
Well, my name is Saida Alieva. I'm Kurdish from Kazakhstan. Well, since I was born and then growing up in Kazakhstan, I always faced discrimination when Kazakh people would tell me that this is not your land and we can ask you to leave anytime we want. And I thought that, wow, if there was a Kurdistan, I can go there and nobody would tell me that. You know, that would be my country. So that's the reason it's very important for us, for the future generations, to have Kurdistan, to have independent Kurdistan. So we can refer to Kurdistan. If people ask me where I'm from, I can say, oh, here you go, this is on the map, Kurdistan, right? And we, regardless of our differences, if we have political differences, our ethnic, in terms of like cultural, because we're all growing up in different countries, the different languages, long Kurdish language, but it's important to come together to show that above all, we are all Kurds, and the ultimate goal for all of us to have our own country. Well, rally is a way to show the international community here in DC, right, this Sunday. We can all show up and say that and show everyone how it's important for us. And it matters, it really matters. I mean, nobody else could understand except of Kurds how to live without your own country, be a refugee in different countries, and all this like hoping that this one day will come. And finally we see that there is a potential for that. So let's just come all together and show the international community how it's important, that our rights need to be heard. And finally, probably, gave us a piece of land that we can call Kurdistan.